Okay, we're doing a little test record here. I'm going to try out something new. So, in previous videos I've been recording myself programming for a while, perhaps several hours, and then go back over that video footage and do annotations. I'm going to try something different, what I should have been doing to begin with, but I'm a quiet dude. I like programming in silence, which doesn't really help y'all, so I'm going to work on that. We're going to work on that together. So the Skull raylib rewrite's coming along pretty good, but I want to make things more generic. I don't want this to be the infrastructure for just Skull. I want it to be the infrastructure for all games going forward. So, you see how we're doing a lot of stuff here in the constructor? Where I'm like hard coding in screen width and screen height. We're hard coding in the title. A lot of these values are hard coded in. We're hard coding a initialization procedure. We want this to be more generic. We want to be able to specify some of this stuff at object creation like we're doing here, but we want to do it in a way where it's modular. You want to be able to call functions to set the screen width and height. You want to call functions to set the title, the FPS, and so on and so forth. So we're going to do a little bit of that right now, but I'm going to do it in a way where, like in the previous videos, I would record pieces of programming at a time, because might do 15 minutes here, might do 15 minutes there, and then stitch those together. We're going to do the same thing this time, but with my voice and perhaps my beautiful visage on the screen. Let's fucking go. To start with, let's make some basic accessor methods. Alright, let's do global scale. Fuck it. Let's see, what's next? Okay, so you create a new method. You have to also put the declaration in the .h file. Alright, let's do debug panel.
Y'all don't even know that.
I guess technically screen rect would have the screen width and height set on them, so but it would be still something that we would want to pass in as a variable or a parameter. So let's so when we do this, we could actually we don't have a variable for these yet. So when we pass them in externally, we're going to need to facilitate some sort of way to transfer this information around more easily. So if we wanted to like construct an object for the game and specify the window like that way, we actually don't have a function for this yet. So what we're going to have to do turn away from the mic and cough. So we have a screen rect right down here. Actually, I want to rename this to underscore. You want to have consistent variable naming.
Y'all don't even know that.
There we go. I'm shaking the microphone. Okay. What's next here? Try to make the microphone point at me better. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better. Better is best. set title. Alright, so you see how we now have like a series of function calls mostly? Wow. No, we don't want to auto set like that. So now it's almost just entirely function calls. I noticed that there's a file that we're missing in this folder. Compile commands. So ooh, big kink out of my shoulder just now. Ooh, and it just came out my chest too. And my arm. And my shoulder over here. Ooh. Yeah, it looks like we got a grandma on the move, so. Alright, back to it. Let's see. Sweet, managed to shut my door in one swing. Alright, so we have to create this variable now. Okay, we've got that much done now. So as an example of this, we can't call init if it's already been initialized once. So this guarantees that we only call it once. And we're not going to want to call it until later. But since we're going to be using this, in our run method, if the game has not been initialized, do we want to force call init, or do we want to like error out saying that we haven't initted yet? I think instead what we should do is actually imprint. And actually I just realized we haven't copied that file over yet, have we? Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we can go back, call close in the run method if the game has not been initialized yet. I guess this would accidentally call the close method twice. So far so good, everything looks good still. So the idea here that I'm trying to go for is a lot of stuff like this, a lot of stuff like load assets, we can actually specify without hard coding here anyway. And we should be able to do it in a way where we can kind of like configure different values for the game, like the assets and whatnot. Load assets currently operates off of a text file. In the old version of the game, I was using JSON, which ended up being more of a pain in the ass than I was hoping. As you can see from the function, each line of the text file has a path to the asset, a number of frames, whether or not it's the player, and that's it. So we could actually have a function called add asset. So that takes an asset name, a path, a number of frames, and whether or not it's the player. So as an example, if we were to retain load assets, as if we're not gonna be getting rid of it, that's how I would use add asset here. However, we are going to be getting rid of it. And instead, as an example, so now it's correctly saying it's not been initialized, but the close method's messing up. So we're adding some debugging statements. Help us figure out exactly which function is causing the close to not work. Ah, the unloading of the render texture. Okay. Will that work? No. Okay, so if is render texture enabled, uh-oh. Oh, the window's probably never been initialized at this point, right? So naturally, close window would crash. So we need a way to track whether or not the window is like ready or displayed. How can we do that? There we go. Okay. We've gotten rid of all the crashes for closing the game again. So now it's kind of clean. And For instance, a lot of this can be specified here. And that is essentially like a configuration, right? I don't think we can load any assets until we call init window, though. See, we can't, like we ran into this problem before. So instead of just add asset, we're gonna need like add asset to load. So we need like a temporary location to store these values. So each one would be a key. Should call it add texture to load. So we could have a vector of texture info. Well, can we have null pointers for texture 2Ds? I feel like it's an alias for a pointer already, right? So we could be like, so it's a string key. Huh. What the hell? Why does it work down here but not up there? Really? Fuck, dude. Oh, so it's a struct. And we can start it to 0. And then so load texture, then add texture to load. So first we would add a bunch of textures to load, right? So this is how we would move the loading into the main, so that we can kind of like start to work on like a customization script, so that anyone who has any different game idea besides Skull will be able to load in whatever assets they want, configure it the way that they want. And the idea that we want to go for is that everything kind of gels together nicely. It's still a long path to get to where we want to be, but we are on the path. Okay, so we're still going to use load assets, but we're not using the assets file anymore. So load assets now only involves us going through load texture, or going through each of the textures in our texture map, which at the moment, once you first actually add them, they're not fully loaded in until you call init. So
y'all don't even know that.
oh, whoops, load assets needs to go back in there. Oh, load assets is still there.
Y'all don't even know that.
Why is it calling load fonts?
Y'all don't even know that.
Oh, it's called when load assets is called? Oh, it's called in the init. Ah, yeah.
Y'all don't even know that. Y'all don't even know that.
Something's not quite right here.
Y'all don't Y'all don't even know that.
Oh, I hadn't saved it yet. Okay. That's what was going on there. Whoops. What's next here? Let's see. Oh shit, it's upside down. Yeah, everything is actually 100% backwards. So the way that raylib does a lot of coordinate stuff with the y-axis is everything is inverted. So to compensate for this, you have to make the height negative somewhere in your workflow. Let's clean up a bit. So for the we're gonna have to think about this one next, because some of this code is very specific to my game. We need to find a way to define custom spawning functions for the different assets in our texture map. We would also want to be able to customize the collision code so that it's not so hard coded in here, but it could be something that's like configured. All right. Okay. Let's take a look at what we've done. So we're trying to make game as a class more modular so that this can be a real engine that sits on top of raylib, makes it easier for me to make a game. So I know what I want, and I know what I don't want to have to do. And I know that in the future there's other games besides Skull that I want to make. So that's the motivation there. I think I've created enough content for right now, for a video at least, so I'm going to try and stitch this together, get it up for y'all. I'm probably just going to abandon the previous 3-hour video that I was going to do because it's just way too much content for me to have to go back over. And I'm trying to make progress on this bitch, so you know what I'm saying? Evil Dojo, represent C++. Raylib game dev. Let's fucking go.